All teams, give it everything you got.
It's time to fangirl flail with Fangirls Going Rogue.
Count me in. I don't think there's anything more important in the Star Wars universe than the fans.
News, discussion, and commentary from the female point of view.
You call this a diplomatic solution?
No, I call it aggressive negotiations.
With your hosts, Teresa Delgado, Tricia Barr, and Sarah Woloski.
Boy, am I glad to hear your voice.
Strap in, because this is where the fun begins.
I like the sound of that.
Welcome, everybody, back to episode 34 of Fangirls Going Rogue. On this episode, I'm stealing something from Skywalking Through Neverland. All kinds of stuff about Rogue One and the 5,000 things Teresa added to her Star Wars collection since you last heard from us. I'm Teresa Delgado, and with me are my co-hosts, as always, Sarah Woloski from Skywalking Through Neverland. What's up, Sarah?
Hey, I'm excited because I got a spiralizer, and all I've been doing is spiralizing things.
Yeah, we're going to have to go into that on exactly what a spiralizer is. I know via your Instagram, but otherwise I would not know. Sounds like a dance move.
It's a way to eat veggies that makes them noodles, and it's amazing.
Much cooler than regular vegetables is what I say.
Pretty much.
And all the way back with us from traveling around the globe, Tricia Barr. What's up, Tricia?
I'm still in a different time zone, but I'm here. I'm with everybody. I'm staying on European time zone so that when I go back to Celebration Europe, I just will have not switched.
Wow.
So I think I'm still... For those people who haven't seen, I'm back from a trip to Eastern Europe, 7 countries in 14 days. And then I'm going back in a few days. From when this airs, it'll be 3 or 4 days. I'll be heading back to London for Celebration Europe. So yes, back around the world, I think.
Did you see Bulgarian bonbon Victor Crumb? You don't know what I'm talking about.
Boom, boom, boom. Did they do the dance?
Yeah, do they do it? She's like, what are you talking
about?
Oh, we had dancers, but that came on the cruise ship, but I don't think that's who they were.
Rabbit trail conversation. Let's focus on Star Wars. See, look how I'm stopping myself. And you don't know how hard it is for me to stop this conversation right now. But I got a chance to join in on the RFR meetup, which is one of the things that we have been up to. And so while Tricia was off touring the world, I was hanging out with listeners from Rebel Force Radio, and it was pretty fun. I mean, the meetup part in the parks was pretty cool. I actually got there late because I was using my Fast Pass for Toy Story Midway Mania, so I didn't get there on time. But I'll tell you what was cool about that is that the exit from Toy Story, exits right out where the meetup was happening. So down there at the end of Pixar Place. Mm-hmm. And you know, Tricia, how there's all the walls up, and so they have all these just kind of covered tables and stuff over there. It was a perfect meeting place. I walk out to this like crowd of people going, "It's the fangirl!" And I was like, "Hey, my entourage is here."
Aww.
It's awesome. So the meetup was really great. I handed out a bunch of buttons that were Fangirls Going Rogue buttons. I got to see some of our guests that we're going to have on the show later, Sophia and Chaney Hunt. I got to see them. They gave me an awesome necklace that says Fangirl Flail, and I wore it for the rest of the time I was at Disney World. It was awesome. We also went on Steve Glossen's loop. I don't know if you guys know what the loop is.
No.
But the loop is when you get in line for Star Tours because it's raining and nobody else is there, and you just loop it over and over and over again, and it turns into mayhem of riding Star Tours multiple times in a row. And for some reason, when you're with Steve Glossen, he always gets the same planet, so it just becomes really funny after a while. All right, so let's move on. Let's see. Okay. So we have a couple of Lego things that have occurred within the past week, 2 weeks or so. Lego Star Wars, the Freemaker Adventures has started. It is out. Have you guys seen it yet?
Yes, indeed.
I've seen 2 episodes.
2. Wow, that's good.
Well, because I missed the first one on the DVR, so I had to wait because I'm like, I'm not going to watch. I had all of them except for the first one. So,
Oh. Yeah, you have to see the first one first.
yeah, it wouldn't have made any sense.
Right, because there's the twist at the end of the first one is kind of what sets up the rest.
Yeah, I would have been like, huh? So we won't give it away, but if you haven't seen it, but definitely watch the first one first because I mean, it's set up for kids and for adults who want to find some humor in it.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's a very adult show.
On DisneyXD.
It is what I like to call a Teresa adult show. It's amazing. Now, the only thing I don't understand is how they're releasing episodes because there seems to be like a new one every day. So I'm like, so is this like a weekly thing, like twice a week kind of thing? What's happening?
I believe what it is they wanted to release 4 at the same time every day to get the kids who are out of school watching it. And then each week on Monday will be their regular release schedule for new episodes. But that first week they wanted to get people, rewatching it.
Sucked in?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was kind of, because it was like all of a sudden there's like 5 episodes. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
I was the same way. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I already knew I was going to. I had predicted this, but it is pretty fantastic. I'm in love with the spoiler Jedi/villain. I think it's hilarious when she goes in between her 2 roles, almost like she's bipolar. It cracks me the heck up. And she changes color, which is so cool.
Yeah, I really love how they did that.
I love this whole idea of this like epic lightsaber, kyber saber, whatever. That's hilarious to me. I don't know. I really love that their nanny droid is Roger.
Yeah, that's cute.
It cracks me up.
He's my favorite part of the show is all the kind of goofy things that he does and says. So
I love the Lego humor. I always have. So I think it's done really well. I really like the voices and I can't wait to see where it goes. But as I had predicted, and I don't know if I told anybody this, it definitely has some things that are very like Star Wars world building. And I realized that this is not rabbit ears canon, but to me it is.
Well, I think it's teaching kind of the language of Star Wars, just like The Force Awakens. We're on a quest to find something. So it's essentially the same type of kickoff. The initial kickoff is the same way. We're on a quest to find something. So there's things that they're going to teach kids who don't understand the language of Star Wars. They'll learn it through Legos if they haven't been able to watch The Force Awakens. So
do we know,
Tricia, hang on real quick. It's Lego.
There's
no S. It's a Lego plural is still Lego. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Oh.
Collector problems.
Huh. Okay. Well, I want to know, is it canon necessary? I mean, because that's what I heard. It was like somewhat based in fact.
So I have asked Pablo, the infamous Pablo, about this. And what he said is that it will have elements of canon, but what is canon really?
Oh boy! Because I know the Story Group worked on this. I mean, I saw Leland Chi, and
it's told Lego-ish way, but with things that could potentially be tied into story you hear later. It's one of those. We're not going to outright say that it is because people don't want. Well, a lot of people don't want the Lego stuff to be canon because it's the goofy Lego storytelling, but I guarantee you some of this stuff is going to end up out there.
That's what I would think.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is canon really these days?
Well, we Star Wars fans don't really use the word canon right anyway. So canon's just a body of works that are endorsed. So is it part of continuity that would all tie into the one continuity that we like to think of? Probably not, but I think we'll see more and more things that aren't. But are they canon endorsed by Star Wars? Absolutely. They're right. They're writing them.
Okay.
I have to tell you this really cute story because I couldn't tell anybody when it happened because I don't really share when I'm traveling and there's no one home until after I'm back. But so I'm walking around in Budapest and there's a book fair and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. There's a book fair. So there's all these bookstores from all over the country and they've got booths and there's people walking around. It's in the main downtown of the center. And I'm like, oh, look, there's Star Wars on the one bookstores like their side. And I'm like, it's Kylo Ren, cool. So I'm like, oh, look, there's there's Jason Fry's book and there's the Rey story book. And I'm taking all these pictures. So I'm like, send them to all the people I know. And then I saw, I think Adam Bray's Lego book. I said that right. And that's what made me think of this. And then my husband goes, well, you need to stop looking at those. And I'm like, yeah, I'm taking pictures. He's like, no, really, you need to stop looking. And I go around the corner and right in the center is Ultimate Star Wars, except it doesn't say Ultimate Star Wars. I don't know what it says. It was in Hungarian. So, but it was the book. And I was talking to the lady and I said, I wrote this book. And she kind of looked at me and then she said, can I take your picture? And I said, sure. And apparently they were looking in the book and realized that my picture really was in the book and it really was me. Like they were like, hi, this crazy tourist lady's like, yeah, I wrote Star Wars. So then they posted it on Facebook, then came back later on to buy the book. And there was a little boy who was looking through the book, one copy on display. And then the one guy that was working there, he opens it and points it and little kid's like looking up at me. So anyway, the only thing I bought in my trip in Eastern Europe was a copy of Ultimate Star Wars that I will never be able to read because I don't understand it, but it's really cool. So
that's awesome.
So that was my crazy thing. So I will tweet a picture of Ultimate Star Wars and of all the other books in Hungarian that we think of the only thing I recognized on any of them was essentially the authors' names. So it's kind of funny. So
was your name, like, I guess it's not in Hungarian. Your name looked the same?
Yeah, Tricia Barr looked like Tricia Barr, but
okay.
Other than that, or actually in Ultimate Star Wars, for some reason, it was my full name, Patricia. But it is in Ultimate Star Wars too. I don't know. They put that. I never go by Tricia. I don't even do emails by Patricia.
I know.
I ended up as Patricia Barr in Ultimate Star Wars. So.
You're so not a Patricia. It's so weird.
You're not. I'm going to call you Patty from now on.
Oh, no, don't do that. There are definitely people who are Patties, and that's not me. So it's very strange. And the weirdest thing was on the cruise, there were 3 Tricias, not Patricias, not Patties, not Patricias. They were all went by Tricia, which is like the strangest thing ever. So in a group of 60 people to have 3 Tricias, well, yeah, chaos, Irish chaos.
That's very interesting.
Okay, so everybody get their copy of ABC 3PO.
Oh
book.
My gosh.
Yes. Probably the coolest book ever released, except for Ultimate Star Wars, because you're here right now.
You can say it's cooler because I opened it and read it in like 2 minutes because I was just squealing the whole time.
Now, here's the thing about it is that it's in Galactic Basic, so probably not what they're selling in Hungary, but here in the United States, it came out on June 14th. It retails for about $12.99 US, and it's written by Calliope is what I was going to say. Calliope Glass and Caitlin Kennedy, and it's illustrated by Katie Cook, which is probably my favorite part. But this is how every person should learn their ABCs.
I agree.
Yes.
And you should definitely. So do you guys have a favorite page?
Ewoks.
Oh, I loved that, but I like the Rey with the BB-8. So Rey, which is right before my name, S, which is Stormtrooper. So what's everyone's name? Well, I guess you guys are T's. What's T?
T is, that's S, TIE Fighter. It says, where are they coming from? How can this be? Just when you hit one, another 2 come. No 3. Do evil forces have an unlimited budget? It would seem so, if you count them and judge it. TIE after TIE gets blasted to bits, yet there's always another to join the blitz.
See, I love the best part is that breaks the fourth wall. Evil galactic forces have unlimited budgets. I mean, the kids wouldn't get it, but we would. So that was one of the reasons I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how each letter has its own rhyme, and it could be a limerick. It could be another kind of I only know what a limerick is, you know, the AABBAA.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody know what the other rhymes are?
Oh,
A-B-A-B?
gosh.
Shakespearean something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. All right. I didn't know, but well, I just wanted to take a moment to plug that we loved this book so much at Skywalking Through Neverland that on episode 126, we have a complete, in-depth, hard-hitting review of this book by me and Richard and our book analyst, Jocasta Drew, and his 7-year-old daughter, Sophie. And we talk about it for like half an hour. But it's amazing.
So Tricia, you said your favorite's E for Ewoks?
Of course.
Ewoks are tricky. They seem fluffy and cute, but if they attack, you might want to scoot. Sure, they like stories and feast in the night, but don't get too close now. They've been known to bite.
It's so cool.
And Sarah, what was yours? Do you remember?
I liked Ray. R.
Okay, R. All right, I just like reading these. Okay.
Yes.
Ray. Ray was a scavenger, hardened yet spry. She could fight off 6 Tito's without batting an eye, but she was stuck on Jakku alone in the sun for years by herself till hope she had none. Then one afternoon, Ray had such good luck, she met a little round droid who was rather stuck. Ray cut BB-8 free from the net right away, and the two have been friends since that very day.
And the little BB-8 has a little heart over his head. It's the cutest thing ever.
It is.
That's so Katie Cook, though.
Yes.
If you know her art, and some people might be familiar with, she's done some Her Universe shirts, and and a lot of she's illustrated a lot of things, but you might recognize it from some of the Her Universe stuff.
Yep. Okay, so my favorite is actually A. My favorite is A for Akbar. It's a poor Akbar. He tried. It really wasn't his fault. Blame those Empire thugs. It was a total assault. Unseen and unplanned for, he didn't know what to do, so he yelled, "It's a trap," and the phrase stuck like glue.
Oh.
So one of the best books ever made.
Yes, it's totally worth the $12.95. Everyone go out and buy it right now.
Well, and I did the test because I have some people in the office who, all these kids of my coworkers are big Star Wars fans. So I gave that book to one of my coworkers, and he said he didn't give it to his kids. He put it on just on the counter, and his 3-year-old saw it, took it, and started reading it on his own. And he said, ABC-3PO, like he knew what the what the cover was. So, and then all his kids loved it. So I thought that was like the true test, right? What we love it. Yeah, it's great. But no, the kids really like it too. So, he said his daughter read the original trilogy graphic novel, which I gave him 19 times. He had to take it away.
Wow.
Because she wouldn't read anything else. Now, I think back on it when I was a kid, I used to do that. Like I read The Little House on the Prairie probably a gazillion times. But anyway, I wasn't sure if the graphic novel would do it for any kids, but apparently it did. So, yeah, reading with Star Wars. Gotta like it.
Gotta love it. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, probably the biggest news that's going on right now is all focused on Rogue One. And there was an article released in Entertainment Weekly, along with all of the stuff we've been hearing for a while that have been rumors. I mean, other people have been hearing it, not me. So all of the information from Entertainment Weekly was brand new to me because I haven't looked at a single thing. I'm doing really good, guys. Doing really good at not looking at anything. So this was really exciting, and especially coming on the back end of all of the reshoot drama that we talked about on our last episode. So I guess we'll just jump right back into this. And Tricia, I'm going to let you kind of steer it since this sort of happened right on the tails of you getting back.
I know. It's hard to do that. They should wait until I'm recovered. No, that's my request. Star Wars, just put everything on hold while we're on vacation. And no, the coolest thing, the title of the article in Entertainment Weekly is Going Rogue.
Woohoo!
I was like, I saw that. I'm like, how cool is that?
That's so awesome.
We had the vibes on. We were sensing the future years ago when we started.
True. And it's really funny because now people will tweet about, Rogue One and all this stuff, and they'll spell it wrong sometimes. It's like
the Rouge.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, the Rouge.
It's like, we've been through that way back, so we don't spell it wrong anymore.
Yeah, well, it's funny because every once in a while it'll happen, and it's just it's okay if you rouge it, because then I know there's got to be someone making a fan film out there that's Rouge One. There has to be. Please, somebody do this, please, because it's funny. Well, one of the things, Entertainment Weekly, Anthony Breznican, and we might as well, Sarah, just plug it right now.
Okay, okay. Well, so. This news broke exclusively with Entertainment Weekly, and Anthony Breznican was the journalist who got to speak with Kathleen Kennedy and some of the insiders at Lucasfilm and break these new photos and all this new information. So we decided to ask Anthony Breznican on to Skywalking Through Neverland. So he is on episode 126 of Skywalking Through Neverland. We had this fantastic interview with him going in depth about all the insider info and also his chats with Kathleen Kennedy dating back 15 years, as well as his Universal Studios tour with Steven Spielberg and just journalism in general. So it was an amazing conversation, and it's on episode 126 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
So one of the things that I was curious, because I haven't heard it yet, but I'll just ask you real quick. If you asked him about it, on our last episode was right when rumors had broke about that they were doing major reshoots and that the Disney heads had said you need to reshoot, and they were saying numbers 40%, and then new directors coming in, helping, not directing, but assistant directing. And a lot of that was debunked by Anthony Breznican. It was a couple weeks before this main story broke. So did he talk at all about going and inquiring, or about the journalism of reporting on something like this?
Yes, he absolutely did. And as to why and exactly what he asked of them and what they said back. And, he would push a little bit and they'd give him just so much. So, it is really interesting conversation about that.
Awesome. So I was hoping you asked that. I figured you might have. So people definitely go check that out. Just when you're talking about covering things, that's just talking about making sure you get all your kind of ducks in a row and ask the questions. And that's one of the reasons he's writing for Entertainment Weekly and gets a lot of these scoops, because that's what he does well, is ask the questions. And obviously sometimes you have to push, and sometimes they're not ready to give the answers that you want. So It was, so there's this kind of weird era we're in where bloggers and journalists are kind of intermingling, and sometimes bloggers want to have more impact, but you also have to, the people who you're writing about are reading what you're saying. So if you're not citing sources and doing your homework, sometimes that'll come back and bite you in the butt. So when people are talking about growing and how do we become more influential as bloggers, that's one of the ways to become influential and to get those type of stories. So it's good to see that, and I'm really excited to listen to him talk about that.
Yeah, and it's just developing relationships with people. As I said, he's been covering movies and specifically Star Wars since episode 2, Attack of the Clones. So he's developed relationships with many of the higher ups at the studios.
A lot of the discussion early on was tone. They were trying to change the tone, which has been debunked somewhat by these interviews. But if I were to say the tone of a movie, what would you think that is?
Whether it's happy or sad?
Well, yeah.
The tone has more to do with, it kind of dips into what the genre of the film is. Like a whodunit movie might have the tone of a film. Is a film noir considered a tone?
So for some people, that's kind of where we're getting at, is everybody has a different definition of,
what a tone is.
I mean, we always knew it was going to be a war movie. I'd say, right? From
right. Well, yeah, I guess the tone could be like serious versus, funny versus, something like that, or fantasy. I mean, those are kind of genres, but you're writing that line there.
Right. But from when they first talked about it at Celebration last year, did anybody get the idea that this would be like happier than the quote delightful The Force Awakens? I like to use that word because that's what Kasdan and Abrams like to use. So
no.
Did anybody think that the tone was going to be happier than the delightful The Force Awakens?
No.
And in the interviews, we get that from Kathleen Kennedy and from pretty much everybody who was talking about Gareth Edwards. They're saying this is still a war movie, and it could be. And this, if I'm thinking about it as a storyteller, tone could just be how much humor or levity are you going to get into it, and possibly what the outcome is. But typically war movies, you go into it as an audience knowing what you're going to get when you walk into it. So I don't think that a lot of people were like, oh my God, they're Disneyfying it, or they're going to make it into, I don't know, what's a war movie with the Disney characters? So
Mulan.
True. I don't think they're putting a dragon snake in it.
They're not making a man out of anybody or anything.
Or musical numbers. They're not putting musical numbers in it.
But if they put the Game of Thrones dragons in there, I wouldn't complain.
That's true. I like that. The other thing is what we saw with this new news is that we saw a lot more about the characters. So part of the kind of, I think the discussion or people getting nervous is things like books are getting delayed and people didn't know who the characters were, what was going on. And obviously, we had a big reveal with Mon Mothma showing up in the trailer. So did anybody have, now that we've seen some of these characters, a character that intrigues you?
This movie's hard because I'm really just going into it to watch it for what it is. I'm not really overly excited. I'm not under excited. I'm like middle excited. It's kind of like that, like 10 things I hate about you, like underwhelmed and overwhelmed, but can't you just be whelmed? That's kind of like, it's kind of me.
Oh, interesting. Okay. What about you, Tricia?
I'm intrigued by Cassian, and probably because he sounds like the by the book guy.
He's the hot one.
He sounds like the Jag to me. If we're gonna equate over to, she seems a little bit like the hot-headed. He's supposed to be the level-headed guy that gets things done. So I'm being totally predictable on that.
That's okay.
Totally predictable. So.
That's so cute.
I did have, and that brings me to the one, they had a bunch of slides of different pictures that were in it. And this is the one thing that bugged me about the whole press route at Entertainment Weekly was the Jin and Cassian slide. It was slide 12 of 22. And it said, in the era of fandom shipping, it's only a matter of time before people start drawing hearts around Jin and Cassian. The filmmakers say he's the reliable, stable one who counters her loose cannon tendencies, sort of Murtaugh to her Riggs. And then in parentheses, there's probably a fandom out there who ship the two Lethal Weapon characters too. And then back out of parentheticals. No doubt Jin and Cassian form a trust and friendship, but does that always have to mean romance? Is there perhaps value in showing a man and a woman whose partnership is strictly platonic, an example of two soldiers who share a deep affection for each other, but not necessarily in that way? Or are we just going to ship until the banthas come home? And I read that and I'm like, is there like a presumption that people see, like they see a guy and a girl together and that's what they're going to do? Is that how people ship? Because I think The Force Awakens proves that you can see two guys together and a whole fandom,
yep.
a whole fandom, shipping fandom will erupt. So I read that one and I felt it was a little bit like kind of was like claws on a chalkboard to me. And so sometimes I was like, I think Star Wars is growing out of that we wouldn't necessarily see. As a matter of fact, like, I know some people ship Rey and Finn, and when we first saw pictures of Rey and Poe, everybody knows I love Poe. So, I like Rey. I would like to see them together, but after the movie, I don't see her with anybody right now. So it doesn't always happen. And I call myself a shipper. And so it's just kind of one of those things that maybe not to be present. It was almost a very gendered kind of put down on the way people react, or assumption that people will react to an image of a guy and a girl. And I think sometimes we're all better than that, maybe. So just kind of presumption about where shippers, what people who call themselves shippers do or don't.
Okay. I don't know. I think it was just looking at the picture and maybe extrapolating a little from it just to write something, below. But yeah. I am interested in the relationships between the people that were revealed. I think that's the part that intrigues me with all these slides and all the information that was revealed to us. Like the fact that Jyn and her father are going to have something going on. Like I didn't even know Jyn Erso's father would be there, because previously in Star Wars, we didn't have, fathers that existed that weren't, Darth Vader. So, usually the parents are dead, or they're orphans, or they're from the Force. So there was no father. So I think that's an interesting twist. And I'm also interested in director Orson Krennic and Vader, that relationship, because it sounds like Krennic is after Vader's spot, and then there's Baze and Chirrut. Not sure how to say that. The one who's into the Force and the one who can't care less about the Force.
Right. And so they're the pair that I thought, okay, they highlighted that they have a relationship, and they didn't think necessarily shipping them either. But the other interesting thing is Chirrut kind of makes this connection back to the Force Awakens, and that we have people who aren't Jedi who believe in either the way of the Jedi or in the light or something, that we see this kind of growing non-Force users who have a relationship with the Jedi, or have a trust or a belief in them, because in The Force Awakens, a lot of people, what does Rey say? I thought he was a myth, Luke Skywalker. And, so she has to come through this whole realization, the Jedi. And obviously Han Solo is, again, not a Force user who's explaining that it's all true, that there are these people that have a relationship with the Force, and that, and then Maz kind of repeats that there's good and evil and light and dark and all that kind of stuff. So that was intriguing to me. Is anybody like super excited that Vader's in it? I mean, Sarah, you said you're excited to see the kind of adversarial,
yeah,
with the director, but did you want to see Vader in this movie? Did you have to see Vader in this movie?
I know Richard definitely did. I didn't really think about it, but once it was confirmed that Vader was going to be in it, I'm like, oh, well, of course. And then I like that they're giving him a twist. Like, he's not the all-powerful Vader in this movie. It sounds like he's going to have some people vying for his spot. Kind of like in the comics, I suppose. But
yeah, it's very, that is true.
Yeah.
It harkens back to the Marvel Vader comic line pretty good, actually. And so that's a great tie-in point. Well done. Well done.
We did discuss these photos for like 2 hours with.
So that's true. Cheater.
I know.
Cheater.
I'm such a cheater. No, so that's what I'm interested in. And I noticed that in the slides there was no picture of Vader. So now I'm very curious as to what he's going to look like.
You know what's going to happen?
What?
I'm just saying.
And the music.
And
what music are they going to use?
Well, okay. Yeah, but in the thing they said that there's going to be several different people probably inside the suit.
Oh.
I bet you they stick Hayden Christensen in there just for giggles and S words.
Yes.
It's somewhere deep down in the credits. Darth Vader portrayed by blah, 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 blah. Hayden Christensen, really tiny handwriting.
That would be awesome.
Well, here's kind of some of my thoughts on one of the reasons I think that, the reshoots aren't that big of a deal. Going back to that is I believe that some of the stuff that they were going to do, they weren't going to shoot until way late in the game because it would start to give things away. And you remember that Entertainment Weekly, it was Anthony Breznican who wrote will Obi-Wan be Rey's father piece, the speculation piece. And I believe that came out of the late in the game talks about that Ewan McGregor was going to and that Obi-Wan were going to play a part in The Force Awakens, which was a really little part, just a voice.
Yes.
But that, that's how things end up getting speculated about. And so if you were going to I actually would like them to put Hayden in the Vader suit because he would be the person who took the journey with him. And if we're going to be excited about you, and I think we should be excited about Hayden, I know there's some people that might not, but if you were going to do it, I wouldn't do it until way late in the game because people would they were talking about Vader being in The Force Awakens, but we learned from all this press that they actually took the Vader suit and put him on the Force Awakens set to do lighting tests for Rogue One. Because they knew he was going to be in the movie. So people saw the Vader suit on The Force Awakens, and that's where the rumors erupted from, is that Vader was going to be in The Force Awakens. So this is how you get these crazy rumor mills going, because somebody sees him on the set. But so they always knew they were going to put Vader. Gareth Edwards knew he was going to be in the movie. But if you were to put Hayden in the suit, I wouldn't do it until these reshoots, real late in the game.
I want Hayden in the suit.
I do.
I like Hayden Christensen.
I do too.
Whatever.
I would like to see it. So this leads me to my other question. I make Teresa think about speculating a little bit. We know this is running up into the to the beginning of episode 4. Would you want to see the moment the Death Star plans get handed off to Princess Leia?
Hell yes.
Yes. I was just that was my response.
Not even a yes. That's a hell yes.
Okay.
Do it.
Okay. That's my vote too.
You know what? Even further, I want her to have it, and I want you to see her ship, and I want you to see the butt of her ship being chased it goes right into the beginning of A New Hope, and so it ends on that scene that's at the very beginning of A New Hope,
or like
Bam!
The shadow of the Star Destroyer,
like back to back
on it.
All right, I like the way you think, because I would like that too. Now, would you care if it was a different actress portraying Leia, or
No.
do you think they should make a Tron?
Oh, please God no! Please God no!
Oh, that would be creepy.
That would be gross.
But
here's the thing.
they've done so many good stuff with that, though.
Yeah.
No, but see, here's the thing. Look, we all know Leia's older. We all know Carrie Fisher can't do it. Just get somebody else. Who cares?
Okay.
Who really cares?
I agree with you wholeheartedly too. But
Get her daughter.
well, she already
Why
has well, that's true. She could do the brown
Just
buns.
throw some brown buns on her head. Give her the Her Universe Leia hoodie. Put it on. Don't zoom in too close.
Oh my. Was that a kitty?
Yes.
He was like Garfield.
Actually, I think just her hand.
Just
like that scene we
work.
didn't see.
Yeah.
Just the Death Star plans and R2-D2 doing his thing.
And this is what the Death Star plans should look like. They should look like a little ball Death Star, that gets handed over like a model here.
All right. So now I'm going to talk everybody into this, and then hopefully we won't be disappointed when the movie
in the
comes out.
movie theater. I'm going to be like, "Damn you, Tricia!" when it doesn't happen.
See, Teresa, it sounds like you're excited now.
Well, yeah, because we started talking about something that's not really going to happen.
Well, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know because, they obviously have recast Han Solo. So I don't think it would be They recast Harrison Ford. No, Han Solo. So I could see them recasting Princess Leia.
So, no, here's the thing, okay? I don't think too hard about things coming out because I don't like to get myself in this state. So that's why I'm very chill and mellow and just like, all right, whatever. And then Tricia does this to me, and then it's like...
Teresa's going to stand up in the screen and be like, Batman!
Yeah, it's because, like, now I'm thinking, and it's not good for me to think.
Okay, I got her all wound up now. I did my job.
Nice. Well, with that, I think we should bring on some fangirls and talk more Star Wars.
So with us on this episode, we have two girls that I'm super excited to have that we're interviewing finally, and it's Sophia and Chaney Hunt. We've gotten to know them through fandom and through going to Star Wars Celebration and interacting with them. They've done some work with us on our website as well as some other things, so we're really excited to finally have them here. We can't wait for you guys to hear what they have to say, so we're going to jump right into it. So Sophia, how did you get into Star Wars?
I got into Star Wars back in 2009, and it was kind of by accident, actually. Chaney and I, we were at the library, and we saw a Clone Wars book that had Ahsoka on it, and I knew that my dad had watched some of the first episodes of the Clone Wars, but I had no idea that there was a girl in it, and so that kind of sparked my interest. So after that, our first experience with Star Wars was the Clone Wars, so we first watched the first the first two seasons of the Clone Wars, and Ahsoka was my favorite character, of course. And after we watched the Clone Wars, we watched the prequels first. So episode 1 was my first movie, and I loved Jar Jar. Like, I really loved Jar Jar. I think our first experience with the Star Wars fandom was back at Star Wars Weekends. I remember that we went to Star Wars Weekends one time, before we were fans, and Chaney and I were super scared of the Tusken Raiders. We had no experience with Star Wars back then, so it was fun going back to Star Wars Weekends, and I think it was 2012 or 11, and being there as fans, and we got to see some of the panels with the shows. And that was, I think, when we first started getting really excited about Star Wars.
So how old were you when you first saw or got into Star Wars?
I think I was 10.
Okay.
Okay, and so you're 15 now, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay, so it's been about 5 years. Okay, Chaney, so from your perspective, what was it like getting into Star Wars?
Well, I got into Star Wars, I was age 7. And it was around Christmas time when we got Dad season 1 of Clone Wars. And a few nights later, I heard Mom and Dad watching the show in the living room, so I joined in. And the first thing that I saw when I came in the room was Ahsoka. And that really, sparked my fandom start. I guess I say that Ahsoka is the reason that I got into Star Wars, along with that book that we found in the library.
Do y'all remember what the book was?
It was the kids' novelization of the first half of the Clone Wars film. So it was a little small kids book, and it had pictures from the movie with some of the quotes and stuff.
Yeah, that was really fun. I read it 24/7.
And how old were you, Chaney?
I was 7.
Okay.
Okay, and so how old are you now?
I'm 12 now.
So you're 12 now. All right.
I just turned 12 on the 24th.
Happy birthday!
Woo! So we ask our guests a lot about how the Disney sale affected your fandom, and I'm thinking it might not have affected your fandom too much, knowing that Disney now owned Star Wars. But do you have thoughts on Disney owning Star Wars? Has it changed anything for you?
I think it definitely has changed it a little bit because obviously our family was super huge Clone Wars fans, and I think the Disney purchase of Star Wars kind of went into the fact that they canceled the Clone Wars, and that was a really big deal. Our whole family, we wrote letters to Kathleen Kennedy and to Bob Iger during that time where we were making a petition to keep the Clone Wars going. So I think that was probably the biggest impact that we had from the Disney purchase.
Wow, so you guys got super into that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we actually got letters back from some.
Oh, what did they say?
It was like a typed up letter that it looked like they made for all the people who sent letters in that was hinting at the fact that they were going to make a new animated series. It didn't say about Rebels, but it said that they were going to, and it said to like keep checking up with StarWars.com, and so that was just exciting.
Okay.
So, Chaney, how did you feel about Clone Wars ending, but then getting Rebels?
I was kind of devastated when they canceled Clone Wars because that was basically my main fandom. Like, Clone Wars was my life at the time. But I think Rebels has put a big impact on my fandom now. And even though they canceled Clone Wars, I think it's good to have a fresh new story every once in a while.
Okay. Well, who are your favorite characters in Star Wars Rebels? Chaney?
Mine is Sabine. Actually, that we're building a Sabine cosplay for me to wear at Celebration Orlando next year. I'm so excited.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
did see that. I saw the framework of the helmet happening. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
All right, well, I have a question for you guys, and this is one of our questions that we ask our guests. So, what is the one Star Wars item you own that you absolutely could not live without? Like, say there's a burning building and you have to bring one Star Wars thing with you. What would you pick? So, Sophia, let's start with you.
I think my favorite Star Wars items are my autograph collection. And my favorite one is the first one I got when I met Ashley Eckstein for the first time. That was back in 2012. And so, yeah, I think that's probably my most prized Star Wars possession.
Awesome. And Chaney?
Wow. I probably think, actually, my Ahsoka Her Universe hoodie, that was my first clothing or Star Wars item I ever owned. Probably that would be it, but also my Ashley Eckstein I got when we went for the first time to see her. That was pretty cool.
Oh, it's all about her universe.
Mm-hmm. So, were your autographs, they were from Star Wars Weekends, right?
We do have some autographs from Star Wars Weekends. We definitely went to those, but the first one I got from Ashley Eckstein was when she visited the Orlando Science Center Museum for a special, when they had I don't remember what the exhibit was called, but they had props from the movies and stuff, and she went there to do a special panel one day, and we were there.
Oh, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay, so what is your favorite Star Wars film currently? So we'll start with Sophia.
Wow. Well, I think for me, obviously, Episode 7 was amazing, and I think that had such a big impact on my fandom that right now that definitely is my favorite movie. So, like, in the past, it was Empire Strikes Back, though, but right now it's definitely The Force Awakens.
And Chaney, what's yours?
Wow. Well, Episode 7 has had a big impact on my life recently, but I think my all-time favorite Star Wars movie is Attack of the Clones.
Nice. See, this is why I love the younger generation. Prequels. Yes. High fives all around.
Yay. What about, I love in Attack of a Clones, the Sound of Music moment.
Yes.
Yeah. Romance is great.
Oh, yeah. Yay. All about the romance.
You know what? Since you guys brought that up, how do you guys feel about the Anakin Padme romance? Chaney, I'll let you go first since you brought it up.
Wow. I think since it's a big part of the story, I mean, Luke and Leia wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. I think that's I think that's like really important in the Star Wars universe, even though some people don't like it because it can be pretty cheesy at some sections. But I think it's, I like it.
I like the way you think. It's such a simple response. Luke and Leia wouldn't have been here without romance. So people stop messing with the shippers.
All right. So before we get into some of our, like, the questions we really want to ask you guys, we have to do another sort of basic one. So who is your favorite Star Wars character? Sophia, you're first.
Well, I think the answer will always be Ahsoka, just because she was the start of it all. But I have a special place for Jar Jar, too. Because when I first saw The Phantom Menace, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's so funny and adorable. And so I love Jar Jar, even though he has a lot of haters.
Hey, that's okay. You love him as much as you want.
Chaney?
I actually, even though some people don't like her, my favorite character is Sabine. I think it's really cool that Star Wars has made Sabine like an artist. Since I'm an artist too, that's really cool, and there hasn't really been one. She really connects with me, and plus we're kind of similar in age, so I think that's cool.
Nice.
Right. Well, you both mentioned that Ahsoka caught your eye with a book and a TV show. We talk a lot about female representation in Star Wars. Did you think before you saw Ahsoka that Star Wars was just for boys, or did you just not notice it? Chaney?
I always kind of assumed it was more like a boy thing, since like my friends weren't really into it and stuff, and Mom wasn't like a ginormous fan at the time, and Dad was more of a fan. I just never really thought about it. I think I probably thought it was more of a boy thing.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I really don't think I would have started becoming a fan if I wouldn't have saw that there was a female character in it, because it really did seem like a boy thing. Like, all of my friends at the time, they were into other, like, girl movies, My Little Pony and stuff, and the boys are, like, Star Wars and Transformers and such.
I mean, ponies are great and all, I'll say that.
Yes.
They are. It's fantastic, actually.
Applejack is great.
Applejack equals best. So, how do you guys feel about the way females are being portrayed in TV and in movies in general, not necessarily just Star Wars? And we'll start with Chaney.
I think it's really wonderful because, I know like a few years back, it wasn't really a big thing. Nowadays it really isn't either, but I think it has grown in the past couple of years, and I think that they can like make more females as the leads and like more females in movies over and all. But I do think that it has grown and stuff. And I think there has been like major like roles that people really looked up to, like Korra from Legend of Korra and like Hermione Granger and Rey. But I think it has grown.
I do agree. I think there definitely is, like, in fandom, people are starting to voice their concerns and make it known that they want more females. And I think, now movie companies are actually noticing that call and making a step towards having more females. Like, this is an era of, like, new Star Wars movies, and the first two we get both have female leads, and I think that's really great. I think it's great to see that even though it might not be as best as it can be right now with representation, I think it's great for us to realize that, they're actually noticing that we want more females and that they're trying to make it better.
Well, that kind of brings us to our next question, and that is, like, going beyond Star Wars, or even TV, like, who are your biggest role models that you would pick out?
I think probably one of my biggest role models has been Ashley Eckstein. Since I first met her when I was like maybe 11 years old, I really looked up to her because she always is positive and she always voices her opinions in a way that, she lets people know like females need to be in things and we need to have a voice in fandom. But she's also just a really caring person who really helps out in issues like bullying, and I think she's probably one of my biggest role models.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree with Sophia, but like TV show wise, I actually think, even though she isn't from Star Wars, that like one of my biggest role models is Korra from Legend of Korra. I love how she can be like tough and can be like tomboyish at some times, but girly and funny at other times. I think that's really cool how you can be both. And I think that can be the same way around with Rey too.
Yeah, I would love to see Rey do something really funny. I really would. She's so serious, but I love that. But I feel like she could have some funny moments.
Yeah, she has that playful side when she puts on her helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so one of the questions I have for you guys, just being a teacher, and I actually teach kids your age, so I kind of deal with you guys talking about some of this stuff, but you hear adults talking about social issues and things that matter to us all the time, and they're not always the same things that concern people of your generation. So what is a social issue that you can think of that Star Wars could really help to change, if whether it be through the films or TV or books or whatever, because they have a lot of outlets? Are there any social issues you think that they could tackle or maybe should tackle? So we'll start with Sophia. We'll start with you.
You know, I think for me, a lot of the issues that I hear you guys discuss on your podcast are very similar to like what I think about. Like, I mean, female representation and, you know, diversity among races and ages and genders. I think all of that is an issue. And I think it is great that Star Wars is noticing that and seeing that they can put a positive impact on that. But I also think not just the movies and the TV shows can make an impact. I think that like fan community is so great. Like the Star Wars community, we've made so many like great relationships. I think just being part of like geek culture can like have a positive impact on issues because, you know, there's a bunch of people there who can like, you know, help you and listen to thoughts and ideas and stuff.
Yeah, I agree like a lot on Sophia's part, like all of it. But I also think that they can work extra on the toys because I mean, I love like buying action figures and such, and you can like find any Rey or Sabine or Hera like at all, and I think that they can really improve on that. Like with the Force Awakens line, how like always there's like the 500 fins on the shelf. I feel like there needs to be like 500 Reys on the shelf. I mean, come on, there's girlfriends too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So what do you guys think? I was curious if y'all might bring it up, but what about as far as like not necessarily bullying, but the way that geeks are seen even in like your school? Because, you know, now Star Wars is sort of the in thing, but what happens when it's not the in thing and you're wearing a Star Wars shirt, you know, at school? Do you think that's something that Star Wars should kind of focus on, especially with their marketing maybe?
Yeah, I do think so because like right now, like you said, Star Wars is an in thing. And, you know, like I feel like a few years ago, you would be like the weirder person if you showed up in like the Star Wars shirt. But now you're like the cooler person if you showed up in the Star Wars shirt. And I feel like now that Star Wars has like so many more merchandising outlets through Disney, like people are wearing their fandom more proudly now. You know, there's more options for like female clothes and kids clothes and stuff like that, that it's more of a normal thing. I don't really know how that's going to change, but I feel like the Star Wars universe just keeps growing. I don't really feel like it's going to become a weird thing anytime soon.
Yeah, and Chaney, is it any different for you? Are you seeing the same kind of things that like Sophia and I see?
Yeah, mostly. I mean, we're homeschooled, so we haven't really experienced any like real bullying at school or anything like that, so I can't really talk about that subject matter. But I think it has grown. Nowadays, there's like a lot of female like clothing merchandise and stuff, and I feel like since Disney purchased it, they like put females in like their commercials and everything else. I think that it has grown and it's less weird now. Like a couple of years ago, I had a Rex backpack, and one of my friends thought it was weird too. That was a boy's backpack, but I loved it. But I think it has like benefited change now.
Well, I think Jonah Marie from The Wookiee Gunner would agree with you that it is a cool backpack.
Yes. I agree with Jonah. How awesome Rex is and Ezra is. Padawan Blueberry.
Yeah.
Well, wrapping up here, it's been so awesome to talk to you, but we saved the most important question for last, and that is, what do you love most about Star Wars? So, Sophia, let's kick it off with you.
Wow, that's just like such a big question, but it's just there's so many facets of Star Wars and being a fan. But I think probably for me, the most amazing thing about Star Wars is like the fan community. It's like this huge family where we can all love the same thing and discuss it, and we all love, you know, Star Wars, and so there's always people there that you can communicate with and share your love for, and I think that's just really special to Star Wars fandom, even more than like fandom in general.
I absolutely agree with you. And Chaney?
Yeah, I completely agree with Sophia. And I love how when you watch Star Wars, the TV or movie, or just like look at your action figures, it like takes you into another world. Like you don't have to worry about the problems that you have right now. You just have to worry about if Luke finds out like Darth Vader is his parent.
Or if Ahsoka lives.
Yes. And I think that's really cool. And that's what I love about Star Wars.
Oh.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Now, we want to, let our listeners know if you want to ask Sophia or Chaney a question, probably the best way to do that is to send it through us at contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com, and we can get in touch with them, just protecting their privacy. You can tweet at their dad. What's your dad's Twitter handle?
Duquesne HIH.
Okay, so you can tweet to their dad if you like, but if you have a question for the girls, just send it to contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com, and we will get it to them, get an answer, and then get it back to you.
And then also, you guys have your own Etsy shop, is that correct? Because
Yeah,
you've given us
Yes.
some amazing jewelry and things, so please plug your Etsy shop.
Well, we have an Etsy store called The Artsy Elf, and we also have Society 6 and TeePublic store, plus a Pinterest account if you want to like follow us on there and such.
Wow.
And we sell like artwork and jewelry on like our Etsy. So yay.
Yay, and it's called The Artsy Elf.
Yes,
Yeah.
Artsy Elf. And they make great stuff. They made me some bracelets, and I have an awesome necklace. And guys, I don't know if you noticed, but I was wearing it every day at Disney World, and it's in my necklace rotation. So thank you so much for that. I love it. And
You're so welcome.
it's really lightweight, which I love, by the way.
And I wore mine when I tweeted it 2 weeks ago. That was in Budapest. I was wearing.
Oh,
that.
that's so cool. We saw the picture and we're like, yay.
Awesome. And yeah, you guys made a Neverland on Alderaan necklace for Skywalking, which is so adorable. So yeah, thank you guys.
Yes, thank you so much for having us on here. This is great.
Yeah, this is like so exciting. I've been like pumped for this for days. I'm like, yay, fangirl flail.
Yay. Oh, let's all do a fangirl flail together. Okay, ready?
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Fangirl flail.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye.
Sidious, Anakin, Luke and Leia, Qui-Gon Jinn, C.O. Bibble, Kylo Ren, Salacious, Crumb, Bib Fortuna, Boba Fett, Amidala, Wicket, R2-D2, BB-8, I can barely keep it straight. It's a character discussion. It's the Fangirls on character. It's a character discussion.
All right. So this is the part of the show where we talk about a Star Wars character, or sometimes a Star Wars thing that Teresa has decided should be a character. But not this time. This time I picked an actual person, guys. So no more creative ideas about lightsabers or Inquisitors or other random things. We're going to talk about Han Solo. Yahoo! Some of you may say, but wait, you talked about Han Solo on episode some number I don't remember. And yes, we did. But we have not talked about Force Awakens old Han Solo yet. So that's what we're talking about on this one.
I like it.
Well, here's my thinking. He's a different character now than he was when he was just the scoundrel in blue pants.
Well, now, is he?
See? You're already going there. Is he? So, Sarah, is he a different character?
Well, he kind of admits to Leia that he just went back to what he's good at, being a scoundrel, being, doing the whole smuggler thing. So
yeah, but was he ever really that good at it? I mean,
yeah, he kept on getting prices on his head.
Prices on his head, losing shipments, getting into the Death Star detention block, and not having a plan to get out of the Death Star detention block. I mean, Luke, I'm going to cut Luke a break because he's the kid in the situation here, and kids sometimes run and say, "I'm going to go do something," and they don't think about it, but Han Solo maybe should have thought about it a little bit before he went in the detention block, other than she's a princess and she's got a lot of money. But, sometimes maybe Han Solo didn't think too hard about things.
So what do you think is different about him, Teresa?
Well, I just think that he's been through so many things, and then just everything that's gone down with Ben. He just seems like a different person, you know, and especially when he's the one that's saying that all of the Force and the Jedi and all that stuff, that they're real. I mean, the Han Solo I know would be like,
hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
That is very true. I think your point holds. I just had to be the dark side one this time.
You know, I just think that I think he's grown. He's been through a lot. You know, he has a family now. There's just so many things that seem different for him. And especially with his connection with Rey. Like, I'm still trying to figure out why he latched onto Rey. And I still would love to know the conversation that went down between Maz and Han about, so who's the girl? Like, who is the girl? Who is she?
Well, and how about that conversation between Han and Leia that we don't know about either, right? What does she say?
Which part?
Well, we know that Han told, when Finn says he needs to go get Rey, he has a friend, and Leia says, Han told me about the girl.
Oh.
So we know that he's had a conversation about the girl with multiple people that we know he's had conversations, but we don't know what he said.
Okay.
So Han was doing a lot of talking, and we don't know what he was talking about in any of those moments. So that's kind of someday, people are like, oh my God, the making of the Force Awakens has been delayed or canceled or whatever the book. And I don't think they can talk about the making of the Force Awakens until we see the whole sequel trilogy. So, because I think some of the decisions were being made while they were making the Force Awakens. So you can't really say, well, we did this or we cut. There was a scene in the art book with Leia and Rey talking at the end of the movie, but we don't know. They cut that. So I believe it was actually filmed or at least written. And so that we don't know, how did they change what he thought or what he knew, or did he know of this girl? We don't know. So that's kind of the tricky part about Han Solo.
Well, Teresa, I wanted to answer your point about how did Han and Rey get so chummy right away. And I just think certain people you just click with. And whether that's for a reason or not within the film, we don't know. I think that just happened with them. They were on the same wavelength. And whether that's because they're blood relative or not, we don't know. But that's what I think.
Well, I think it's a little bit of a respect too. I mean, she stole, as soon as she says, I'm the pilot of this ship. And, then he's like, well, who'd you steal it from? So that's like the respect that, well, okay, this girl stole my ship and she flew it. And I think he probably figures out a little bit more, like, well, we see, she fixes the hyperdrive and she knows stuff. So for him, that's important. The ship is important to him. So she sees it important. So it'd be like, oh, that person, like, if someone likes my horse Scanner, then I'm like, oh, if they're really nice and you like my horse Scanner, then I like you too, because he's important to me. So I guess the Falcon's like his horse. But
yeah,
because he is cowboy.
Definitely.
Now, Tricia, do you see him as being a little bit of a different character?
This is a part where I have fundamental issues with the thought process on his characterization as a fan to what they were, and as a storyteller. So it's hard for me to talk about how he's portrayed. And I don't know that the best choice is to make him just go back to being what he was. But that's because I think that it would have hurt worse if we saw Han and Leia because the whole thing with Han and Leia is we see them, they're already mourning their relationship. So Leia doesn't lose anything when Han dies. Because they're having, like when Han and Leia talk, it's like them at when you're at somebody's funeral and you're like, oh, you remember that person? And so they're talking about their relationship like it's something that's dead. And so when Han makes the choice to go out and face Kylo, and then he dies, I think and there's a really good article on Birth Movies Death by the film critic Hulk about kind of the whole framing of that scene. You sort of knew it was going to happen, and then they told you it was going to happen, and then the way they light it, the way they put it out in the middle, how everything happens. The moment Han dies, you know it's going to happen. There's no shock. There's no shock. I mean, I know there are people who are kind of, there was nothing. I was like, oh, look at the way it's happened. Everything, the way Han and Leia talked, everything to that moment was inevitable to me watching the movie. It wasn't even like I was like, oh, and I didn't cry about Han dying until I read Bloodline. And then I was like, okay, now it hurts, but it should have hurt during the movie. Right. And so that's kind of where I can't separate the two. Now, maybe there's some ultimate plan, but I can't separate what Han, like what he is. I think people ultimately are who they are, but I also think that putting him where he is in the movie where Han and Leia are took away some of the pain. I think it would have hurt worse if they were still trying to fight to be together and then he took that away from them. That would have hurt the audience more. I even think when I watch interviews with Harrison Ford in the Blu-ray, The Force Awakens, and he's talking about he felt like Han needed some emotional weight in the movies. When I wrote my Han Solo article last year for the Star Wars Insider, I said that I thought Han Solo was the emotional vehicle of Star Wars. And that was before The Force Awakens. So I think Harrison Ford and even J.J. Abrams saw Han Solo differently than I saw him as a fan. And as I look at the structure of Star Wars. So there's this kind of fundamental clash between what I think Han Solo is to people and what they did with him in The Force Awakens.
It's interesting that you bring up Bloodline because I still haven't read it yet. I think it's one of the next things we're doing for Bookworms, so it's coming up for me. But now I'm like, okay, I really need to watch that watch it. I need to read it apparently because, if it's going to make that moment even more significant, then I would love that because I really do feel like it wasn't as significant as it should have been or should have felt or.
Yeah, I'm a third of the way through Bloodline, and I can already see where it is giving you a little more depth into their relationship. So,
get out your. Were there when thinking back at when you first saw The Force Awakens, were there gasps in the audience when it happened? Did you?
Yes.
Yes.
I gasped, and then I froze, and then I didn't know.
I don't feel like it's very. Because I was in the press screening, so it's there was no reaction from anybody. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I was with the wrong kind of people.
Well, the guy next to me turned and asked me when it was over if I was okay, because I think he thought I was crushed about what happened with Han Solo. But I kind of saw that I had seen that writing on the wall for a long time. It was it was a storytelling beat that I felt like was going to happen. For a lot of reasons. I don't know. It's funny because the whole movie is like Last of the Mohicans. The whole movie, they're running and then everything stops in that moment. Everything. Even if you look at it, even every other character stops in that moment. For, all the things that are running. It's like, okay, we slow down and take this. So it's one of those things that I'm fine with Han Solo dying. I don't know if it could have hurt more. I want you to hurt me more, Star Wars.
I know, right? No, I think you're right, though. I mean, because, the only time I cried was Christmas Day. We went and saw it at the El Capitan Theater. And, you get all emotional on holidays. So I cried when Han died. I cried when Rey got the lightsaber. I cried like 3 times. But you're right. But before that, I didn't.
I cried every time I cried the first few times was only about the lightsaber and Rey. That was just like, okay, I'm just acting like a total fangirl.
Don't get excited.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Final question. Do you like Force Awakens Han or A New Hope Han? Tricia?
Or
No.
Empire Strikes Back
No.
Han?
No.
What?
No.
No, that's my favorite Han. I'm sorry.
I'm putting it. I'm making you choose.
No,
between
damn
Force
it.
Awakens and A New Hope.
Empire Strikes Back.
Sarah, you just haven't learned how to do it Teresa way.
Oh.
So you just rewrite the rules and you answer the question the way you want to.
See, you don't do it beforehand. You're supposed to do it later.
I know, but Teresa was totally doing her Ray. No.
No.
That's like one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. No.
I know.
Okay.
This one?
So Tricia, episode 4 or episode 7, Han?
4? If I had to choose, but Han Solo is at his best in episode 5.
Yep.
So, I mean, he's great. He's great in episode 4. I think there's no doubt that if you look at even A New Hope, which is kind of the weird thing about the structure of episode 7, so you look at A New Hope, all the emotional weight is on Han Solo. It's not about Luke. It's about when Luke says, well, aren't you going to stay and fight? And Han's like, and he's off.
See, this is my point. This is why I want y'all to choose between 4 and 7.
So 4, when Han makes the right choice, he goes back, and maybe that's because Chewbacca is the Jiminy Cricket on his shoulder saying, oh, come on, you need to go back.
I hope he's not on his shoulder.
I hope he doesn't talk like that. Oh, come on.
No, he says, rah, 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 rah. But Han makes the right decision. So maybe the right decision is going to face Kylo, and maybe it isn't. But I don't know. But if you look at episode 4, Han carries our hopes and dreams and our expectations that we all know Luke's going to do the right thing. He's in pure on revenge mode. He's going to blow things up, but it's Han Solo who doesn't have a stake in it other than to do the right thing.
Okay, so 4 or 7. Okay, 4.
See, I rewrote the rules. Okay,
so Sarah.
Okay, so I'm going to say...
With all that being said,
yes,
and the fact that we know that you love episode 5, Han, because of the romance and I love you, I know, and blah, 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 blah. 4 or 7? Okay,
I'm going to pick 4 because I'm just into that whole alpha male thing, and he's great. But I am going to say that out of all Harrison Ford movies, that episode 5 is he's cutest ever. Okay.
Okay. Wow, that was really hard for y'all.
Teresa, what do you think was his best movie? 4 or 7?
Ewoks. What? Ewoks? What? Okay, so if I have to pick a Han Solo, then...
But clearly you leave it to us. But go ahead.
Well, you guys love him, so that's why that was funny for me to watch that, that whole thing that just transpired. So, 4 or 7? 4 or 7? 7, because he calls BB-8 ball. He's like, get out of the way, ball.
Oh.
And when he tells Finn,
women always figure out the truth. Always.
That was cute.
That was great too. So I like him in that one.
Some great Han Solo moments in episode 7 itself. But I think we're going to learn a little bit more about the Han Solo standalone because they just announced that it's Star Wars Celebration, that the directors of that movie will be at Celebration speaking. So futures, I think it's a future Star Wars storytellers or something like that panel. So
we'll be at Celebration Europe?
Yes.
Exciting. So you're going to be there, right?
Yeah, and hopefully in that panel. So it looks like they're going to stream it to everybody too. So I was kept thinking, why are they doing all these big panels at the end of the day? And then I realized because Sarah will be getting up with Richard at 5 a.m. to watch them live stream.
I get it.
So yeah, all the big panels are at the end of the day so that everybody in California can enjoy them too.
So it's the opposite. When it's here, everything's at the morning.
Yeah. So everybody in England won't be up too late.
Right.
So yeah, so now it all makes sense.
Yeah. Well, that kind of brings us into where to find us, doesn't it?
Yep, we are close to the end, but we need to talk about where you can find the Fangirls next. So, Tricia, you are up first with Celebration Europe. So what's going on?
Well, the schedule is now up. And this week I will be heading to Europe, and I'll be on 3 different panels. So I'm really excited for Star Wars Celebration. So you can, if you're going to be at Star Wars Celebration, or if you're following the coverage, I will be hosting a panel. It's the panel I proposed, and my name's still not on the list for who's on the panel.
Aww.
So it's one of those things where you're like, dude, you're looking at StarWars.com, but it's my panel. It's on the fan stage from 12 to 1 on Friday. And it's the STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and math, heroes and heroines of Star Wars. So there will be tons of really great guests and hopefully some cool presentations about how people interact with Star Wars in those type of careers, and also the heroes that we see in Star Wars that use science, technology, engineering, math, like Rey and Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Ahsoka, to name a few.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then on Saturday morning, I will be on the behind the scenes stage, which is hosted by Amy Ratcliffe, with the Star Wars Insider panel from 10:30 to 11:30 in the morning. And then, this is such a Saturday and celebration, I'm going to run to the podcast stage for a 12:30 to 1:15 podcast, which with Fangirls Going Rogue teamed up with Star Wars Report. So Bethany Riley Blanton, and we'll be doing a show live from there. And also cannot tell you who the guests are going to be, but I think people will be really excited when they hear who they are.
Oh, how exciting. Well, of course, the Fangirls next year are going to be at Star Wars Celebration Orlando. And then following that, I want to announce something. Now, I know it's really far in the future, but it's September 2017, but you need to know now in case you want to join in. So Skywalking Through Neverland, we are actually doing a Skywalking Disney cruise. And what this is, we're going to be September 17th through 22nd, 2017. We're going on a 5-night Disney cruise to Baja, Mexico on the Disney Wonder. And it's going to be kind of like a podcast cruise. So to get more info, head to storiesofthemagic.com/cruise quote and click on the orange Get a Quote button in the upper left to get a free, no obligation quote, just to, see if you're interested at all. And in the comments section, mention Skywalking Through Neverland so they know you want to be a part of our group. Because what we're going to do, we're going to schedule like a podcast meetup at some point. Some of the excursions could actually be scheduled together if you're in our group, and all this interesting, cool stuff. So we are super excited about that.
Awesome. That sounds cool. All right, well, that brings us to the end of another episode of Fangirls Going Rogue. If you want to keep in touch with us in between shows, you can go over to fangirlsgoingrogue.com, which is our website, and there's a lot of stuff going on over there, so please check that out. You can find us on Twitter. We are at FGGoingRogue. Tricia is at Fangirl Cantina. I am at Ice Cold Penguin, and Sarah is at Jedi Tink.
You can email us at contact@fangirlsgoingrogue.com. You can go and talk to us on Facebook at Fangirls Going Rogue. And again, thank you to Sandra for all the wonderful things she does to get the conversation going there. And Tumblr, fangirlsgoingrogue.tumblr.com.
And you can Instagram us at FGGoingRogue. Once again, Sandra is in charge of that, and she is amazing. And you can leave us a voicemail at 331-21-EWOKS, which is 331-213-9657. And then, like we were talking about before, we have our Fangirls Going Rogue t-shirts with the new logo, and you can find those at our website, fangirlsgoingrogue.com, and click on that Support Us tab where you'll find a link to our t-shirt shop.
Please go to iTunes or any of the podcatchers that you listen to and leave us a positive 5-star review, because we need your reviews and they help us get seen by more people so we can talk more about Star Wars.
So until next time, da 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 da.
Yup.
Yup.
I'm ready when you guys are.
Ready.
Ready.
Sarah, did you say ready?
Yeah. Oh, I said ready. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Ready?
I can now.
Okay.
Is this a good? Okay.
Ready? Okay.
Oh.
ABC 3PO. Okay, I'm so not a cheerleader.
You know this is going in the end, right?
I know that. Okay, are we ready now? Like for real ready?
Yes, for real.
For real?
For real,
Okay.
for real.
For real.
Oh God, I totally might. It just like I had all these things I was gonna say, and then it just ran away. Okay. Ooh, all right, I'm ready. Okay. I like his older brother, who is just he's aloof. Their droid, he's aloof. He's always like, huh? What? No, he's kind of aloof. Like he's just sort of Nicolas Cagey, like what, when, where, why? You know?
That's not
It's
really
like,
aloof. That's just stoned.
Oh my God.
It's the very adult kid show.
Yes.